For the SOL, like how many questions are on it?
Between 40 and 50, I don't know.
Is it hard?
Not that bad.
What's on it?
Everything.
Oh,
For number 1. We need to find the slope. How would we do that?
So y2 minus y1
Negative 18 minus
or that.
over 12 minus 3 and negative 10 over 15. And you can simplify that.
Negative 2 over
2 over 3.
Get that.
Why does that look so good?
For number 2, it asks you to find the line of best fit, so you could put this data in. I'm just going to show you what the actual equation is and the answer, and then if you want to see that in the calculator, we'll do that.
Yes.
So your equation was this. If you put 6 in, you get 199.5 and some other decimals. The closest one to that would be 200. The first one. Bella, how did you say it? Hold on 1 second. That's the way they have the
Wait, do this case.
I hear people talking while talking. Going to stat, going to edit, put in all of your numbers. These are not the right numbers.
Wait, where's that?
On your calculator.
On a physical calculator.
This we're doing for the decimals. We will do that later. You need your calculator.
Wait, can you show us how to do this on Desmos?
Later.
Wait, which number is it?
I don't know.
You said go to stat, right?
Edit.
Edit.
Put in all of your data. Go back into stat. Scroll over to calculate. Look for linear regression number 4. Then, because it's asking for you to put something in, you would need to go into store regression, alpha trace, pick one of those, and then calculate it. CK, that's where all those numbers came from. And then it asks when x is 6, so I would go back to the home screen, store 6 as my x, and then go back and grab my equation. And it would give me my answer. I know I went through that kind of fast. I'm not going to go back through it just because I really want to get through all of your Desmos stuff.
Wait, how do you do the arrow?
Store, STO, at the bottom.
There are, wait, so does like the store thing like make X sense?
Okay. There are line of best fit things in the Desmos packet, so we'll get to that. That's my later. Okay. And then the y-intercept for number 3 was -1. For number 4, if you solve this equation, subtract 2x on both sides, and divided everything by 10. You have negative x over 5 or negative 1 plus x plus 2. But we need an equation that's perpendicular to that one. So our new slope would be what?
Y equals 5 over 1.
Wait, how did you get negative x over 5?
Negative 1 plus x will be the same.
Oh! Okay.
So we would start at this point 2, 3. And use our slope of 5. So if I go up, let's go down. 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. Your equation would go through the slope 5, and your y-intercept would be at whatever this number is. 7. So this line and the one they gave you would be perpendicular. Peyton.
The SOL should also be one.
There's some fill in the blank, there's some choose all, there's some drag and drop, there's some
The
drag,
one where you have to write down the answer.
there's all of the different types.
Have you already
Can we just all be multiple choice?
Oh wait, we're gonna have to type like y equals 5x
Say that question
squared
again.
squared
Have you already seen how that
x
For algebra numbers.
plus
For other classes.
652,000.
For number 5, start graphing this. You start at positive 2, where slope is 3/4, so go up 3, to the right 4, down 3, to the left 4. Would this be dashed or solid?
Yeah.
Dash.
Wait, a positive something's going this way?
Would this be shaded above or below? Below. That would be this area right here. Take out your SOL review packet. Evelyn, go back to your seat. And find this page. If you have your computer and want Desmos up, you can keep that up. Otherwise, you should be on other things. Whatever this is, they're not numbered. I'm not. 8.5. Oh yeah.
I have so many packets. I mean, what is the script? What packets?
So for systems of inequalities, the solutions are in the overlapping shaded region. Does anyone want to see any of 16 through 19 in Desmos? 16, yes. Now, for 16 and 17, because it's asking you to actually graph it, you would just be putting these in, seeing what it looks like, and copying it down to your graph.
Oh, wait, I'm supposed to solve it.
Wait, so then if there's system inequality, you just put the equation and you have to use the answer.
It gives you the graph. You would have to copy that onto it, Savannah.
Is the graphs that when we have to like graph something on the test, are the graphs interactive or do we have to draw it?
They're interactive.
Thank God. I hate having to draw.
So it'll like have you put two dots, and it'll graph the line for you. You can change the type of line, pick which area is shaded, things like that.
Because you have to like use your finger to draw.
416. Anyone for writing this down? Read off the inequality for 16.
X plus Y
Greater than what?
negative 2. And then X minus Y greater than negative. I mean, not negative 3.
Greater than 3.
Yeah, just 3.
So this will show you where these lines would be drawn and where the overlapping region is. So if you had to draw these, I would click on one of the lines, find the X and Y intercept to help you plot points. Do the same thing for this one. Plot those 2 points to help you draw the line, change the line to dotted,
Wait, so we just,
and then click the overlapping shaded area. Thanks.
so we would draw both,
Hold on 1 second, because there's people talking.
so we would draw both lines, but we would just shade the one region.
Usually, yes, just overlapping, not all of.
Yeah.
On the graph, is it gonna show dotted lines or
I think you'll have to choose the type of line.
where do you do that with?
Not on Desmos, on Tesla.
Oh, okay.
Savannah.
Can you remind me which is the X and which is the Y axis?
X-axis, Y-axis.
Why is like
Vertical is
Hoy months, remember that.
That doesn't help you with the X and Y axis. Because if you were thinking that this would be the X-axis.
No, you're excellent.
Maybe we could like this.
So confused.
Any other examples on this page, Bella?
Are they getting this graph paper for like questions like these?
I believe you'll have paper. I don't know if you'll have graph paper. But you'll have Desmos, so I wouldn't want you to graph it by hand if you have Desmos. Okay, on the next page. That's not for slope, you have positive, negative, 0, undefined. I would draw a quick sketch of each. Doesn't have to be completely accurate. To find the slope, pick a line, or I'm sorry, find the slope, pick 2 points and use rise over run.
Graphs are.
Do we need to see any of the slopes for 1 through 4? Well, okay, 5 is part of a different thing, but hold on.
Y1 minus
Anyone still need this part?
Maybe 7.
Because that's part of not this part.
Wait, so for 0, slope and undefined region for 0, we just put 0? Like literally just the number 0?
If that's for slope, yes. 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 And then for this part, open the graph settings, turn off the minor grid lines, and change both steps to 1. And then count the rise over run.
Like without the
Wait,
X is undefined.
Wait, where's setting?
Hold that thought. I will do that in a second. So, Kaden, you wanted to see 5. Okay, and Lily, you said 7.
Do you have to use settings or do you think just put the equation?
So, some of the tricks they give you, tricks and hacks, are more work than if you would just do it either
I mean, you
algebraically
could
or
just check your work by just putting in the equation.
or counting it. For slope, it just helps you. They think helps you count it a little bit better, so I'll show you what they mean here in a second. Is anyone still writing this down? For number 5, tell me what those ordered pairs are.
-9 and -2. And then 3 and 4.
So, listen, open the graph, or open the settings, this is your wrench. And then here, minor grid lines, you can print that off. For me, that doesn't help me because now I don't know where those are unless I zoom in. And sometimes that hurts you more than helps. So you could count the slope from here down to the right. 6.
So it could be 1/3.
Negative 1/3. Or you could actually do it algebraically, either or. And then what were the order pairs for number 7? 9, 3, and what and what?
7.
7
-7.
Wait, so in these equations, are you just finding the slope?
So I can go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 2. Simplify that, it would be 3.
Wait, how?
You'd have to count rise over run, and then simplify.
This is the same thing as just doing -4 and -4.
Yes, just on a graph. Okay, next page. For writing linear equations, that's your slope-intercept form. You have to know that, know what each piece is, know that your y and x are usually your ordered pairs or points you can put in. If you have a multiple choice question, type in the answer choices to see which matches the given information. So like, if it asks, which of these functions is this equation? You could put them in and see which one matches. Now for 9 through 11, those you would have to actually be able to find the slope and find the y-intercept. Do we need to see any of those 9 through 11? Anyone still writing this down?
Yeah.
And it just gets back. The next problems that you have to write are these. If you're given a slope and a point, what you could do is graph the point, type in y equals mx plus b, add the sliders for m and b, change the m slider to your given slope, change the b slider until it goes through the point. If you're given 2 points, graph the 2 points, type y equals mx plus b, add the sliders for m and b, change both sliders until the line goes through both points. For the given 2 points, that one's a little tricky because if you don't know the slope, you're kind of guessing. Jenna?
Can you do like minus the y to x2 like the one we did on the other page to find the slope from this?
You could do all of these algebraically. So if you wanted to actually find your slope and then do the same thing as before.
Are they gonna hand out like graph paper What is this?
You may have actual paper. I don't know about graph paper since you have Desmos.
I have a question about the equation y plus mx plus b. Does it matter if it's
Y
mx?
equals mx plus b. It does matter, yes.
It can't be like b, it can't be like ax or something like that.
No. In this case, it has to be m. Do we want to see any of 12 through 15 in Desmos? 11, 14, yes. Anyone still writing this down? For 14, I'm going to put in the order pair they gave us, so negative 6, 5. And then I'm going to type in y equals mx plus b. This would be easier for you guys because you still have them here, you can type it in. It'll give me the options to add sliders. I want all. And they tell me that my slope is negative 1/3. I'm going to go into this and type that in. And then I just have to move this so that it goes through this point. Make sure this is a whole number as well. So, start moving it up. At 3, it goes through that point, so my equation would be y equals negative 1/3 x plus 3. Other questions in that section? Next page. Books. So vertical, and they're backwards, but vertical lines have undefined slope and are x equals. Horizontal lines have 0 slope and are y equals. For 16 and 17, you would just have to know those things. 18 and 19, you could use Desmos to kind of help you with, but you would also have to know those things. So I say for 18 or 19, do we want to see either of those in Desmos? Or see the answers to 16 or 17? Which one? 17. Anyone still writing this down? So for 17, if this is a vertical line, is that x or y? X. And you look for what is that x value, which is what? Negative 3, and that would be your equation. Questions about 18 or 19 before we move on? Yeah, so if you put in the ordered pairs, it will either give you 2 points that would represent a horizontal line or a vertical line, and then you can write the x equals or y equals.
Even though we draw it onto it.
That's for slope only. So if it's asking you for a slope of a horizontal or vertical line, that would be your answer. Okay, for this bottom part, for graphing linear equations, type in the equation, click on the gear, choose the table icon. So this, all of this is not necessary things, but if it said to graph some equation and maybe you wanted to make sure all of the points that you graphed were the correct points, this would be a way to check yourself. Then plot the points from the table. Or if your brain blanked and you're like, how do I start graphing a line? You could do it that way. Do we want to see any of 20 through 23? Okay. Anyone still writing this down? Tell me the equation for 21.
2x minus 6y equals 6.
2x
Minus 6y equals 6.
So if it's in standard form, it will not let you make a table from it. It has to be in slope-intercept form in order to make a table. But despite that, if you click on the line, it'll give you your x and y intercepts. You could plot those 2 points, and on TestNav, it would make your line for you. If you also wanted to, you could find the slope of this line, which would be 1 over 3. 1 over 3 x minus 1 would be your equation, and then you could graph all of your points if you needed. So I'm not going to actually graph that, but yeah. Next page. So this is dealing with our transformations that we recently talked about. So you need to know these 3 transformations. Changing M changes the steepness, so it's either steeper or less steep. Changing B moves the line or shifts the line up or down along the y-axis. And then making M negative reflects the line. Goes in the opposite direction. So for these, the only thing Desmos would really help you with is to visualize what happened. If you wanted to draw in the original, which is your f of x equals x or y equals x, and compare it to whatever the new equation is. Otherwise, you would need to know these transformations. In 24 through 29, do we want to see any of those? 25. Okay.
Can you explain to me on 26 and 27, like how it's done?
So, explaining wise, imagine that there was a function there. It was the function y equals mx plus b, but they didn't actually write the function. Instead, they just put the -3 and the 5 plus 3. It would do the same thing as 25. So, hold on 1 second. Anyone still writing this down? That's good. That's the one you should remember the most, as we've done it all year. So for for 25, we are comparing this to this original. If we're comparing this to the original, I see that my slope has changed, it's no longer 1, and my y-intercept has changed, it's no longer 0. Is one path steeper or less steep compared to one? Less steep. And then for the -2, would that move up or down compared to 0?
I didn't get the third like point. Like
M reflects the line. Making M negative reflects the line. Always reflects the line. Yes. Yes.
what's that?
Moves the line up or down along the y-axis. Remember that these are also on Canvas, so if you missed it, you can always go back.
We did do. Would that make sense? I got it.
So, what is the
Line change there. It's literally all it means. So, speed up just a little bit. That's just the function, so it's representing some function that they didn't actually write out. But you can just look at the two things or whatever's given. This would be a reflect, and this would be 3 times a c.
okay.
So, and the change of slope are both that. So the 5 compared to 1, would this be steeper or less steep? 5 times steeper.
So the upper next is
It's just a random function.
kind of like ignore it.
Yes.
And the x equals
The slope is 1 for the original. And then for the plus 3, would that shift up or down?
I just say so if it's like adding more number for the y chapter, it's gonna be up, and if it's like down, it's gonna be down, right?
Yes.
So and if it has a more slope than before it got, it's gonna be steeper, and if it has less slope, it's gonna be steep.
If the number is greater than 1, then it's going to be steeper. If it's a fraction less than 1, then it would be less steep. If it's negative, that's its own thing. That's the reflection. Savannah.
Nice, actually.
also reflection is
After
negative.
Say that again.
Reflection is negative.
Then for this part below, type the given equation and point into Desmos. Type in y equals mx plus b and add the m and b slider. Change the m slider. If it's parallel, change it to the same slope. You can type in whatever that slope is, or you can move the slider, either or. If it's perpendicular, change it to the opposite negative reciprocal. Move the b slider until it goes to the given point.
Would y equals mx plus minus b do difference?
You mean like if you type that in? I don't
Yeah.
think that would work
It wouldn't work.
because you can already change m to be a negative, so I don't think that would work. I don't know though.
Could you
Pick one. 33. One, two, three, four, five. Anyone still writing this down? Okay, I'm gonna put this in decimals. So we would put in the given equation, so y equals 3x plus 3. And then put in, in the point, which was negative 3, 5. And then I'm going to type in y equals mx plus b. It's going to say add slider. You're going to choose all. And then if this is perpendicular, or we want to find the equation that's perpendicular, what would the slope be?
-1, 3.
So in your m, I can go in and type negative 1/3. Oops, that's not what I meant to. And then move the y-intercept until it goes through that point. Make sure it's a whole number. Move the y-intercept until it goes through that point. So your equation would be y equals negative 1/3 x plus 4.
Before they come through.
You have to move it.
So the red line just doesn't matter. You should put that there to figure out what.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah,
I
because
did
if
that.
I look at them, these are crossing and making it see.
I think they were
The same slope. You would do the same thing, but your m would be the same, and then it would go through whatever point, and they would be parallel lines.
You would just change like the right?
Change the intercept, yeah, just like we did for this one. Yes.
So parallel is like two lines with different, like y's.
Y-intercept.
And then perpendicular is like where they're crossing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And zero slope is like when they're kind of like the same line.
Zero slope is a horizontal line.
And then would be the solution zero if they're the same line or would they?
So it depends on what it's asking for. In this one, it asks you to find the equation, so you wouldn't be looking for slope. Your answer would be an equation. Next page. For a function or not in domain and range. A function has no repeating x's and passes the vertical line test. Domain is the set of all your x values. Range is the set of all your y values.
Would we like repeat the same points?
No.
We
We do not put repeating numbers. For anything that is asking you, is it a function or not, that's something you need to know, not something Desmos can help you with. For domain and range, it will be given to you in a table, ordered pairs, mapping, or in a graph. So really, unless it gives it to you in a function, Desmos, that's the only way Desmos can really help you to be able to visualize it. For numbers 1 through 5, do you want to see any of those? 3. Anyone still writing this down?
For number 3, it would be a not function because 2 goes to 2 numbers, right?
Yes, that would not be a function. Not 1 and 2, pick 1. Pick one of them. We could do 2. So we'll do 2 and 3. Just because they're very similar.
Would you put them in curly brackets?
Yes. Okay. For number 2, we'll start at that one and then do number 3. Because it gives you a graph, you need to find all of your x and y values. These are random points, so you would list them least to greatest. What would your least greatest x's be? So -3, -1, 0, 1. There's a lot. For range, lowest to highest.
-2, 0, 1.
Is this a function?
Yes.
Yes. And you could draw lines, vertical lines, to see if any of these points go through another point. These two do if I draw horizontal lines, but that's not what we're looking for.
You don't write the same numbers.
Correct. You do not write repeating numbers. For number 3, if we're listing our domain, we're listing these least to greatest. So 2, 3, 4. For range, least to greatest.
-5, -2, 0, 1.
What's nice about these is that they're usually already least to greatest. And then as we pointed out earlier, they would not be a function because the 2 goes to 2 different y values.
Well, what would be great? Like, the character.
So if one, you have a keyboard so you could type it, but right next to P, there are 2 things right there. One is a curly bracket, one is a, I think you can just type it.
Wait, it's the shift.
Yeah, shift and then that.
Why is it not a function? Because this goes to 0 y values. Let me see. I don't know that. I'm going to make the case and I'm going to be able to. I'm going to make a case of promise. I promise.
Great. Do we have questions on 4 or 5?
I'm like super curious on this.
For the next section, on the same page, zeros and intercepts. Zeros are the same as x-intercepts. Remember that those are interchangeable with solutions and roots. Don't let that trip you up.
Wait, solutions are with x.
X-intercepts. To find zeros and x-intercepts, you could graph whatever they give you, whatever function they give you, and find the x and y-intercepts. Be careful. If it says find the zeros, you're only looking for x-intercepts. If it says find the intercepts, you're looking for everything.
So, zeros, x, intercept.
Yes. Do we want to see a 6 through 9? Yes, we could do 8.
6.
Anyone still writing this down? So 6 we're going to do just off the graph. We are finding our zeros. We are looking for what? X-intercepts. Where would those be?
-4, -1, and 2.
In curly brackets, that would be -4, -1, and 2. For number 8, you would type that into Desmos and see your intercepts. Someone read that out to me. Minus what? So
whatever your function is, and you may have this functionality, I'm not on the testing, to make this bigger if you need to. Click on the function, it will highlight your intercepts for you, so you just have to figure out what those are. You may need to zoom out to find your y-intercept. Be careful because one of the points they give you is your vertex of a quadratic. Make sure that is not the point you write down as your intercept. So negative 3, 0, 2, 0, and 0, negative 12 would be your intercepts.
Intercepts.
Oh wait, so you gotta put. You know, it sounds.
Oh, they're just. Is there a certain order you have to put it in?
So that's all.
But if you got a question like this, it would probably be a choose all question.
Yeah.
But be careful with those because they'll switch the numbers. They'll do like 0, negative 3, 0, 2, negative 12, 0 to see if you know which ones are which.
Wait, so you have to put like them in their own parentheses. So like you do negative 3, 0 in parentheses, and you also do like comma and 2, 0 parentheses.
If it was a type in answer, then yes. If it was a choose all, they'll be written already.
What about for number 9? How would you solve that?
You would type it in and look for where it is. So what's the equation?
F of x equals 4 over I of x.
And what is it asking for?
For the find the zeros.
Just 0. Aminata.
Wait, would they mark that wrong?
Aminata.
Wait, if we zoom out,
Aminata. Ask the question. Yes. Okay.
Would they mark it wrong if you put 0, 0 instead of just 0?
I imagine they would tell you how they want it. So either write it as an ordered pair, 0, 0.
If they don't say that, they may want it in curly brackets, would just be curly brackets 0. So it'll either say or use curly brackets. Jenna.
wait, if we zoom out, would there be like an x?
X intercept?
Yeah.
This is your x intercept.
For you.
That's also your y intercept.
Don't.
Yes.
I feel like someone else asked me also. I don't remember though. And then Kavita.
I'm gonna ask if you're put like inside of color that could be the same point, right?
That they may count wrong.
Okay, next page.
For evaluating functions, type the function exactly as you see it. Then in the next line, type f of whatever your number is, and it will answer. So this would be instead of just putting the number directly in for x. So you could do either or.
And 11 are finding the y, right?
All of these are finding the y.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Oh yeah.
Do we want to see any of 10 through 13? 10 and 12. (11) is similar to 10.
So once you see 10, you should do the same thing for 11.
Anyone still writing this down? Savannah, you asked me. That's what it was. Okay, so starting with 10, I'm going to do this one this way, and then we do 12 a different way. So for 10, if I put in f of x equals negative 2x plus 8, and then in the next line I would do f of 5, and it would give me my answer negative 2. You could also put 5 in for this x and it would do the same thing. For 12, I'm going to put in just the equation. So x squared
plus 3x plus
and instead of doing what they asked, I'm going to go and make this a table. So go into my gear wheel, make this a table. And it's looking for when x is negative 2, 0, and 1. So negative 2 would be negative 56, 0 would be negative 54, so I just do the equation and make it a table. And then, but you don't have to make it a table. Well, by hand, no. Okay, just do
That will
it.
probably be one of your multiple choices.
So then these 3 would be your answers, and I can get rid of this row.
how long do you make a table yet?
You like, once you like do your equation, you like go to the top and like it'll say, or like it'll be a picture. Do you have to get rid of them?
Just if it helps you, if there's a lot of numbers or maybe they have decimals, you may want to get rid of the other ones.
How many questions are
40 to 50. And I think 10 of them don't count or something like that.
What, do you have a cup?
Well, also like the
Like it's smaller.
yeah. Like there were 70 questions, but they only rated 6. 60. Yeah.
So how many questions?
Yeah, they were like tests, like they were like trying them out. Negative 2. But they only like graded their score based on 6 questions.
Okay. For numbers 14 through 16, it's asking you to be able to write them in different things. It's given tables and you have to put it in a mapping and graph or vice versa. Do we want to see any of those?
you just go in order from top to bottom?
Least to greatest for mapping, no repeats. In the table, your X's are least to greatest. But sometimes they don't do that. And then graphing, you just put them where they're supposed to be. Okay, next page. So I'm going to read all of one column and then the next. For direct variation, that's the one on the left. Your equation forms are y equals kx and k equals y over x. For the graph, it is a line that must go through the origin, or 0, 0, yeah. To find the constant from a table, so it says divide backwards across, but really you're just dividing y by x for every single thing in the table or order pair, whatever it gives you. And then how to solve for the missing variable. This does work, but for us in class, we would find our k value by doing y over x, and then put the values back in to find your missing y or x. And then for inverse, your equation forms y equals k over x, or k equals x times y. The graph is the two curves. To find the constant, you multiply x and y together for each set of numbers. And then same thing to find the missing variable, multiply x and y to find your k, use that to find your missing variable. So we could do that in 1, or we could do that in 2, or in the word problems. You choose. 1 or 2. Not both. 1. And then if you want to see one of the word problems, we'll do one of those, but not both. Anyone still writing this down? You can put the equation in to see what it graphs and see if it's direct or inverse, but you have to know if it's direct or inverse. Yeah. So for number 1, you could put in each of these and graph them and see, are there lines? Are there lines that go through 0, 0? Are they curves?
Actually, can we do two instead? How would you do this?
Yes. So if you did 2 in Desmos, you could do the same thing. You'd have to make 3 separate tables and see what they do. Or you could do it algebraically. Anyone still writing this down?
Is the origin like 0, 0?
Vita?
Yes.
Yes. For number 2, I'll put A and B into Desmos, and then we'll do C by hand or algebraically. Make a table, and I'm going to put in these values: -6, 8, -4.
Wait, what did you press to make it?
12 plus. Plus. As I'm looking at these, I'm saying this looks more inverse. These don't look like a line that's going to go through 0, 0. To make sure they're inverse, you could multiply them. So -6 times 8 is
-46.
8. -4 times 12. -3 times 16. Since they're all -48, it is in fact inverse. If I did the same thing for the next one, 12, 4, 17. Those look more like a line. If I zoom out, it does look like it's going to go through 0, and then you could divide.
Are you able to like make that a line or no?
What's 84 divided by 12? Yes, but hold on. 7. 119 divided by 17. I'm imagining. 140 divided by 20. So if I type in y equals 7x, yes.
So you said to make sure that it goes to the line, you're supposed to multiply it?
For this line, divide y by x.
Wait.
For
So
inverse, you're
wait.
multiplying.
Well, for number 2, you have
For part A, we multiply because it was inverse. Direct, you divide. Okay. And then for part C, If I multiply 1.5 and 20, what do we get? Someone do that in your calculator.
30.
Okay. 2.5 times 12. Is it actually 30?
Yeah.
That's 30.
3.5 times 8.
It might be 25.
That's 28.
Okay, so it's not inverse. Start dividing. 20 by 1.5.
Is that gonna be neither?
13.3.
12 divided by 2.5.
4.8.
So it's
0.96.
It's neither, because it's not dividing or multiplying.
So you just would need it.
So this one was inverse, this one was direct, this one was neither. Do we want to see either 3 or 4? Okay. Number 4.
Wait.
The amount of flour varies directly, so it tells you it's going to be a direct variation.
That's the X.
Amount of flour is Y, number of muffins is X. So the recipe calls for 24 blueberry muffins and 4 cups of flour. Which of those numbers is X or Y?
24X.
4 is X and is Y. So you can divide those two to find their K value.
So 4 divided by
6.
24.
No,
1/6.
1/6. So that would be, for every cup of flour, you can make 6 muffins. And then we can use that for our last piece. Determine how many muffins can be baked with 6 cups of flour. What are we looking for, X or Y? X, because this is number of muffins. So we would have our Y equals our K, 1/6.
Wait, is Y the amount of flour? Yeah, I actually did that number.
And then X, how would we solve for X?
Multiply 6 to both sides. And then we'll
So for 6 cups of flour, we could make 36 muffins.
Wait, but wouldn't you have to put like the X over 1 because, or no?
If that helps you, you could do that.
Wait, but then if you did that, you can cross multiply, right?
Multiply
The fractions.
Fractions.
Wait, we're talking right?
Oh, okay.
it sounds like you.
It will say varies directly or directly
Oh,
proportional
varies directly.
or varies inversely proportional, something like that. Okay, on to the next page. Let's start writing this down. So enter your data into a table, type your regression equation. That's either your line of best fit, y1, your tilde, the squiggly line, mx1 plus b, or your curve of best fit, y1 tilde ax1 squared plus bx1 plus c.
Wait, can we learn this?
Yes. When it says use the parameters, that's just the a, b, and c, or the m and b values Desmos gives you to write your best fit equation. And then, so D is new. To make a prediction, type in x equals whatever your number is, and then zoom out to find the intersection. So you could do that, or use the table like we were doing before. So we'll do both, so you can see both.
Wait, what unit was this?
Line of best fit was the line of best fit unit. Curve of best fit is part of quadratics. For sake of time, we'll do 1 or 2. If we have time to come back and do the other, we'll do the other. Okay.
2.
So someone already said 1.
You said that if it has a year, something you change to like 0, 1, 2, 3, and that's how you do it.
And we're about to do that here in a second.
So if you don't do that, what's gonna work?
You'll get a different equation, and that may change your answer, because if you don't do that and then you keep the same year and put that in, you may get a different answer than if you changed it and changed the values.
There are some people that are writing.
We're all taking it at the same time.
I actually have a question. What SOL does AFTA take?
They don't.
I don't think Wait, why not?
Because they already took one. Because that's algebra 1.5. By that point, they're juniors. So they would have already taken algebra 1 and geometry.
Wait, you can only be an AFTA if you're a junior?
No.
Yeah.
Yes. And then possibly test if they're taking out. Anyone still writing this down? So first, since we're dealing with years, we would need to change this first year to 0 no matter what.
Oh.
And then how many years has it been from 1980 to 1990? 10. From 1980 to 2000? So 20, because we're not counting these two, we're counting from the original. From 1980 to 2010, and then to 2020. Now remember that sometimes you can assume what those are, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they change it. So we're going to put these values, these 0 through 40, and these values into Desmos. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to make a table. Get rid of all these values. 0, 10, 20, 40, 30, 40.
4.99, 5.99, 9.99, 11.99, and 12.99.
Wrong box. And I'm going to zoom out.
Wait, but can you still like already determine that they're all like 9.99?
They are in a line, but that's not what we're trying to find. We're actually trying to find the equation for these.
Oh.
Let me say that again.
Do we graph like that?
There was a little plus right here. That is that. And then
Why did they all go like up
they zoom.
It went from 599 to 999.
Also that. So I'm going to put in Y in your ABC, or you can type it. Tilde. Oh,
I
except
think
I
we
put
put
Y1.
Y1.
Yeah.
And X. Is it gonna be on the formula sheet?
No, you have to know this. So it would give you your equation, and we're looking for when, or the cost of peas in 2025. How many years has it been from 1980 to 2025? 45, yes. So underneath this, I would say x equals 45. And I would look for where these two lines intersect. And 1469 would be my answer. Y1 tilde ax1 squared plus bx1 plus
Can you say that slow?
in 1 second.
Okay.
Say that again.
You type in the 1 before you type in the square.
Yeah, how do you get Y1?
You just type y1.
Wait.
ax1 squared plus.
What's the little thing?
Zilla.
Yeah, where's that?
Zilla.
No, it's on the calculator.
Where is it? On your keyboard is still. Where's on the keyboard?
Can you scroll up?
There's no option. Oh,
It's above
like
tab.
above under escape. It's above tab under escape.
Wait, so is the slider always going to be at 45?
No, I put x equals and typed in 45 and it did that. Bella.
Is the second equation
You have to know both of them. But if you know the standard equation for a quadratic, same thing.
Wait, what number was our x?
Priscilla, say that one more time. This was, it asked for the cost of pizza in 2025. It's been 45 years, from 1980 to 2025. CK.
How did you get your, like, x for your number?
The 45. Is that what you're talking about?
It's for, when we're doing it in decimals, yeah, the x equals 45.
From 1980 to 2025, it's been 45 years. Peyton.
You use line of best fit.
I just wrote the quadratic because someone asked for it.
When you use curve of best fit.
When it says curve of best fit. Anytime you use years, that's line of best fit on automatically. Okay, on the last page. With algebra tiles, convert the tiles to algebra using, or by counting the tiles and using the key. Maybe I didn't. Yeah. Do we need to see any of 1 through 4? Yes, we could do 4. No. So these you have to know what they are and be able to write the equation or expression.
Will it have a key?
Yes, it'll have some key. You also need to remember that if you have positive and negative of the same thing, those are going to cancel each other out. So if you have a positive and a negative x, that becomes 0. So you said 4. For 4, this would be a negative x squared. This is a negative x squared.
So it'd be 2 negatives.
We have a positive x and a negative x, so those would completely cancel. And then we have a positive 1, 3 positive 1s, and 2 negative 1s. So it would just be 1. Nope. Just write it. I doubt it. But
I know. I doubt it too. It's probably going to be all line of best fit.
no, they separate everything out, making sure everything's equal. And then on your formula sheet, you will be given area and perimeter. They do. So it will tell you the area and perimeter, how to find that for a square, a rectangle, how to find area of a triangle, and your quadratic formula.
Does this say like honestly?
It'll be embedded.
Why do we need area?
You don't really.
We never really used area.
Not unless we were solving.
It was in like the beginning of the year.
Not unless we were solving. So area is length times width. Perimeter is 2 times length plus 2 times width, but that's not something you need to remember.
I have a question. If you get those questions, why do they count them or no?
I have no idea the answer to that question.
Wait, we don't have bonus questions on that, so what?
There are, I wouldn't say sample questions, but there are some questions that don't count. So bonus question, if that's what you want to call it. Yes, sure.
Why do we have questions that don't count?
I don't know. I didn't make that one.
I have one more SOL packet if anyone wants that.
Yeah.